From the hills of great Sapon lies a cozy scenery. Host of cities, BBS, S to BHS. Asobexs, thy greatness not tongue can challenge. Shout and shine wherever you may be. God be praised, we are great in Him.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to the maiden edition of Asobexs Connect, the first of its kind in the history of the existence of Asobexs. Asobexs is the acronym for Association of Baptist Ex-Students. Asobexs Connect is the outcome of the history and stories of students who are former students at Baptist High School, Great Sopoboya, Cameroon. This experience has transitioned from the Baptist Teachers Training College, BTTC, to the Baptist Boys Secondary School, BBSS, to become Baptist High School, better known as BHS today. This prominent institution was among the first of its kind in the history of Anglophone Cameroon to institute a co-educational system. Traditionally, a boarding school of this nature was usually gender segregated. BHS is honored to be one of the first to buck this trend. The venture to move away from the single-sex form of boarding schools came along with an exciting change in the Anglo-Saxon form of education. There was a cultural change, an innovation to say the least.
Asobexs Connect is all about exploring and recounting all those wonderful memories that students who ever experience boarding life will remember and cherish. These experiences, which has created some everlasting bonds whereby our friends in school became as close as blood relatives. The experience in Baptist, even though it was unique in its own right, had several similarities that we'll find in other boarding schools, some that surrounded us, such as Saker, Sase, Bishop Rogan, St. Augustine, just to name a few. And then these who go to these schools can relate to us.
Even though at the surface of our discussion we will be recounting a lot of our experiences and events which happened while we were at Baptist, Asobexs Connect is not just about the story of the past. We will be digging into our own personal history to share with the world where we came from, expose the source of our strength today, as well as the reason why some of us are modeled in this manner. We also wish to analyze how we should move forward in enhancing the legacy of this noble institution, our alma mater, Baptist High School Boya. In all of our shows, we will try to limit the discussion to one most or two most important topics, which shall be deliberated maybe for about 40 minutes plus 20 minutes, which we will interact with our social media. This will include questions and personal experiences.
Asobexs Connect will not only be limited to Asobecians or the people you'll see that in the beginning of the program. This show will reach out to other Asobecians around the world and also those who share similar experiences. This is because the topics and discussions we'll be talking about here will be pretty broad. We will deal with what affected us back when we were in school and develop these ideas to how we live our lives today. Our discussions will always evolve. All Asobecians are encouraged to reach out to other Asobecians and to whenever they might be in Houston. So whenever they might be in Houston, let them stop by the studio, right here in our studio, and let's do an interview and presentation so that we'll be able to share to the Cameroon community and the world at large all the topics that we may have at hand.
All right, our fellow viewers, today we're going to focus on one important topic that we know almost everybody who went to a boarding school experience It's called discipline. So our topic for today will be discipline. But before we even begin our topic for today, we're supposed to have two other guests on the show, two other ex-students, but for some reason they couldn't make it. And it's just going to be myself, Terence Limona, and my co-host, Humphrey Musenja. One of the things that we want to focus on today is about discipline. It was rigorous. It was crazy.
It was crazy. I mean, when you even think about boarding school, I think that's even one of the things that highlights the experience. You know, when we think about boarding school, I mean, just think about it. You go to a place outside of home, and you have to put on a uniform. You have to go into a structure.
But you see, this is the thing, though. Even though most often when we're in school, I remember my time in school, I didn't like it. But that discipline has molded us today. That discipline is what has kept us in line. And I think that has changed my ideas of certain things, or how I do things, or how I even treat my own child. You know, there should be a structure. And I'm sure it's that structure that has changed most Asobecsians, because just imagine, you got to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, there's a bell.
That's right.
That bell tells you that, oh, it's time to get up. What next? There's another bell. Oh, it's time to go do your chores.
Right.
Another bell at 7:30, it's time to go have breakfast. Another bell at 8 o'clock, it's time to go do what? Go to class. So everything has a particular set time. It was like our lives were already structured, where you know that, okay, on a particular time, maybe at 2:30, I can vouch that, oh, Humphrey is attending history class, or Humphrey is attending French class, or Humphrey is probably taking siesta, you know.
That's
so
correct.
That structure is something that till today, I'm time conscious. I understand that, oh, at this particular time, oh, if I have to be at the studio at 9 o'clock, I'm going to be here at 9 o'clock, because it's something that I've lived all through my life with, you know what I'm saying? And I'm sure that also affects you, and that affects how you raise your children.
No kidding, right? Because I left when I finally graduated, and I left BHS. The year later, I was in basic training in the U.S. Army, and one thing I took out of that is that, you know, how easy it was to be in the military, even going through the basic training. I'm literally, you know, less than a year after I left Cameroon. You know.
So what you're saying is that basic background or that training from Baptist High School helps structure your life in the military?
Well, it makes me not think of it that seriously. You know what I mean? Where it would have been traumatic for others, it wasn't for me. You know, it wasn't my first rodeo, so to speak. You know, so that's kind of when I was able to adapt the way I did in basic training. I could only remember, like, you know what? If I didn't go to Baptist, if I didn't go to boarding school, I don't think I would hang.
And I'm sure this is not just a situation of things that happen to Asobecsians or those kids who went to BHS Boya. I'm sure everybody that went to a boarding school also can relate to this topic. They also had a structure, you know.
Right.
I'm sure my friends from SASE, my friends from Seka, they can relate to this. But our fellow viewers, we have one of our Asobecs presidents from Colorado, the president of the Colorado branch, is live from Colorado, and we want to see if he has something to say about discipline. He's an older brother of ours, and maybe he can share a little light from the time they came to Baptiste before we came, how that discipline or how that structure affected them and how it relates to him today. So please let us welcome Mr. Moka to our live show.
Hi, Moka.
Thank you for her. Hi, Humphrey. Hi, Terence.
Hey, Moka.
Yeah. Actually, what you guys are talking is very, very interesting, because when we go to Baptist, I'm the class of 87. I mean, which is not so far from your class. But I mean, I would say we both have we're pretty much the same age bracket. From my own personal opinion, when it comes to discipline, it's actually, I look at it and I try to relate what is happening today. When we were in Baptist, the discipline was rigorous. Issues about corporal punishment was the order of the day. But today, when you look at Baptist, corporal punishment has been taken completely out of the package. So, but then it doesn't still stop the fact that people have to be disciplined. And now we have to transcend that process. Back then, it was easy to discipline a child. You didn't have to talk so much. You were told, it's time to go to school, it's time to get up from your bed, and it's time to take your shower. If you don't do it, what followed was a beating.
That's correct.
But nowadays, you still have to be able to to inspire a child to wake up on time, get his stuff ready to go to school, or to do whatever he has to do on time. Even if we're talking about just going to church or just going for any normal occasion, he has to respect time. He has to actually be there when he's supposed to be and actually comport himself as expected. And you don't have to beat the child.
But Grandmoka, not to cut you short, I have a question.
Yes.
We're talking about all this timeline where kids in boarding school have to follow. So how is that different from those students who went to a day school? Don't they have a structure, or don't they have a particular set of goals that they have to meet? Like, okay, it's the same thing we do. You got to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. You got to make sure that you go to class. You got to make sure that you go for preps, because we are forced. You have no other alternative. You are forced that, oh, at this time, you are going to be in class. 7 p.m., you are prepped. 9 p.m., the lights are turned off, you are going to bed. But what about those students that are day students, those kids that are day students? Do they also have to follow this structure, or how is their life different today from us that went to boarding schools?
You know what, Terrence, I think it's what we're missing is the enforcement. Okay. All right. So when we have enforcement, I remember when I was in baptism. For instance, let's take waking up at 5. You know, it wasn't like they rung a bell and everybody got up.
I didn't like it. I didn't want to get up.
What happened was when the bell rang, the lights were on. And this happens always in the beginning of the term. The lights go on, and then jump down. Then you have your prefects with belts running through the dorm, to making sure everybody is off the bat with belts. So it's in its enforcement.
Okay.
It's in its enforcement that I think, you know, it was. I anticipated it. You know, whenever I knew that it was, I don't know if you ever slept through.
But Humphrey, but this is the thing, though. This is the thing. That structure, without that structure that we already had, you already know that at 5 o'clock, your dormitory captain is going to wake up with a belt.
That's
so
right.
You already know. Instead of you getting an ass whooping, excuse my French, but instead of you getting beaten, you know that you have to get up at 5 o'clock.
That's right.
But what about the students that are not in boarding schools?
That's correct.
So what do they do? Do they also have a system that wakes them up in the morning?
Well, I mean, I don't know what that system is.
You see, but how does that play in their lives today? Because we can be sitting here and talking about discipline, how it has changed us. Does it mean that those other kids that went to a day school didn't also have discipline? No, they still had discipline. They still had a structure. If you're sensible enough, you understand that, you know what, I have to wake up, I have to be at class at 7:30. So
it's the enforcement.
It's the enforcement, like you said, you know.
It's the enforcement, you know, like I said.
Yeah, but Terrence,
Yes, Moka, go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah, when I look at it, now that I'm thinking about the situation when you put it that way, I think those in the boarding school had it easy to be disciplined, easier than those in the public school. Why? Because in the public school, you have a lot of other factors that come into the picture, which makes it difficult to really follow a particular trend of things. Now, at home, you get up, there are other conflicting schedules which comes in when you're at home, which you don't find in the boarding school. So in the boarding school, the children were more, I will say, they didn't have those issues which made them to do things which are not actually related to maybe being in Baptist. Okay. But then if you're at home, you have other things that you have institutions that you have to deal with. In the same light, you still have to follow your program of going to school on time, be ready on time, and do everything you have to do at home. It doesn't mean that in boarding school, we didn't have chores to do in the morning when we woke up. We had all those things to do. But then it was just that. Whereas at home, you have other things which were...
It wasn't uniform, would you say? Because if you're coming from home, now you're dealing with, different families' standards, boarding school, there's only one standard. So that's the difference. So where, one family would enforce, the discipline, getting up or what have you. Others could be a little laid back.
But this is what I'm going to say. Me being the fact that I went to a boarding school and I also went to a day school, I can relate to this. And I can share my experiences being a day student. I pretty much set up my own time. If I want to go to school, I'll make up my own time and I'd say, oh, you know what, I'm going to go to class today. And nobody's going to say, why didn't you come to class or why did you come to class? But when I was in BHS, oh, you have to go to class. If you're not, you're being punished.
Right, you didn't have
you have no choice. You can't pick and choose. You have to, or else you get punished. But as a day student, if I say today I'm not going to go to school, I can leave my house and go roam the streets.
Right.
Nobody's going to say, Terrence, why didn't you come to class?
Right.
Nobody's going to say, Terrence, why didn't you make it to your test? You know what I'm saying? So some of those things, I feel like the kids that went to boarding schools were more structured because you know that at this particular time, you have to be in this particular place. Right. You know what I'm saying? But day students or people's kids who went to day schools, it don't really matter. You know what I'm saying? You pretty much set your own tone on how you want to do your stuff.
Right, and it's not like some day students didn't understand that, like they needed to be there at a certain time, and I guess they have more of a reason to do that.
True.
I'm thinking boarding school, we were structured to do that without, it was really a fine line between, us wanting to be at a certain place at a certain time and being forced to be at that place at a certain certain time. So we will only follow that, And so that's the experience. And it also, I think it showed me what worked, So like I said, I had a similar experience where they took me out of Baptist. I spent some time in the day school. And the fact that structure wasn't there, I felt like a little bit more liberal with my time. And I quickly then, it was only then that I figured out what, why certain things are. Like, it seems intuitive.
Humphrey, not to cut you short, but in other light, from me being a day student and being a boarding school student, one of the things that I also realized is the bond. I know our focus today is about discipline, but you look at the bond. I have more friends from my childhood life in Baptist than when I went to a day school. You know what I'm saying?
I have more from Baptist than I do have from college.
You see what I'm saying? Like right here, we went to college over here. I can't tell you how many of my university students are my friends. But I have friends that I have my classmates from Baptist from day one. We're still friends till today. We're in different groups. But I don't know two of my classmates from University of Houston, you know what I'm saying?
That's right.
I can't even remember them,
It's like having brothers and sisters from the same struggle.
Yeah. But we're going to take a commercial break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about corporal punishment. That's another part of our discipline. That's something that we really want to get into because it was crazy, the things that students went through during corporal punishment. When I'm talking about it, I can feel my back during sore back. Let's take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to focus on corporal punishment.
From the hills of great Sapon lies a cozy scenery.
On the 19th of July this year, the Asobecks will be coming to Denver, Colorado for their national convention, and I will be there. Will you be there?
Join us. I will be there.
My name is John Indele Abam. I am a Boban residing in Denver, Colorado, and I'll be there.
I will be there, but it certainly would be the same without you, so please come join us.
Asobexs Convention this year in Denver, Colorado. Be there because I will be there.
Just here to indicate that I'll be there. Hope to see you there.
I will be there.
I definitely will be there.
I will be there. Will you be there? See you there.
Asobexs, thy greatness none tongue can challenge. Shout and shine wherever you may be. God be praised, we are great in Him.
pros and cons. We're going to now emphasize more on the corporal punishment. And when we left, we talked about you remember sore back. Explain that.
See, guys, I know some of our viewers who went to day school don't really understand what sore back is. Dude, I'm gonna say this. When I think about what I got in school, just because I didn't go to class, and I'm gonna share some. I'm gonna call some names. I'm gonna call some few names. It's nothing bad. What I'm saying, because we're just sharing our experiences, and these are some of the things that help to strengthen us today. What I'm saying. We might have looked at that like, oh, it's bad, it's punishment. Why is he beating me? My parents don't beat me at home. But again, it still falls under discipline. We might look at it and say, you know what? Oh, it's punishment. Oh, this guy is beating me, he's slapping me on my back, he's using a towel on my back, and all that stuff. But that has made us who we are today.
All right.
That has changed us in so many ways. Like I was having a conversation yesterday with Mocha, and I was telling him that the stuff that we go today, because I will not just see him and call him Mocha, because he's an elder student, Grand Mocha. You see what I'm saying? There's always going to be that respect.
Right.
The respect is not because just of the fact that, oh, we're beaten. It's because of that bond that we have. And I feel like this same corporal punishment thing that we're going to talk about today has also helped shape us. The beatings, all the punishments, the clearing of field, the picking of a pin. I know most people don't understand what that is, but picking of a pin is when you kneel down and put your hand on the ground and you have one leg up, or sleep under somebody's bed and they throw water on you. All those things, we still consider them as corporal punishment. I'm sure you must have experienced some of those.
Right, and mine. I mean, I wasn't really stubborn.
You was a good kid.
So it was always no. So yeah, kind of. So all my punishment was like group punishment. So the extremes I didn't experience. So basically, if it was let's go like cane, for instance. So there was always the cane, and that the sore back thing. It was always, I think I had one or two, maybe a few more, and that was just and I think it to me it was and again when we talk about this, it's as bad as it may seem. It was, when I look back at it, it was more like, you know what, it made me not a stranger to pain. It made me not, really think of,
coping in the military with all that.
So coping with that. So again, because they don't beat there.
But you go through rigorous trainings.
That's correct.
But Humphrey, one thing I'm also say is, the punishment that we got in school, and I'm going to share one of my experiences. I remember in Form 3. I was sick, and I had to go home. And I told Alabama that I don't feel good, I want to go home. Mr. Tony, he said no. That was the vice principal then. He said no. So one of my good friends, he's my Boston friend, we're still friends till today, Ekonde David. I'm not sure if you remember Ekonde. So Ekonde's mom was a nurse at the General Hospital in Boya. So we left and went to the hospital to go see Ekonde's mom so she can give me some medication, since Alabama said I couldn't go back to school. Unfortunately, when we came back, Alabama saw us coming back from the field. And the punishment he gave Ekonde and myself, Siberia, remember Siberia, right? From one banga tree to another. You're telling me at that age to clear that spot within 3 hours span. Don't go to class, don't go to the refectory. To clear that spot. I feel like that was some kind of a modern day slavery.
Right. Now, did you ever touch a cutlass before going to boarding school?
I don't think I ever touched a cutlass before going to boarding school.
Definitely
so
did.
I didn't. When I was in primary school, all I'll do is sweep and mop.
Right.
So clearing didn't seem something that I would do. And for you to tell me, and then the point is, he gives you a time frame to do that job. I'll call it a job because over here when people do that, they get paid for it. But you don't punish a student to go clear thorns. And then the worst of it is when they have this discom and age suspension where kids go sit around and clear the hole and dig storm and do all the stuff. I'm not sure they do that today. I've not gone to Baptist for so long. I'm not sure if they, because when you look at those kids, they are really young.
They're very young.
Very young. you see a child is what, 8, 9, 7, 6. I'm not sure how old they are now going
about
to Form
10,
1.
even
About 10.
About 10 at least. I
So
guess.
I'm saying, I'm thinking about my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
She's 7 years old. She'll be 10 in about 3 years. And when I look at her going to a boarding school, how is she going to cope? Yeah. So I'm thinking, those things, do they still happen?
Yeah, it's incredible. Well, now that when you put it in perspective, you know, like I have 11 and a 12-year-old. Like, they hang, and I no, you know what I mean? We did, and I remember, like, you know, when they gave me this class to go and clear, and I thought it had everything to do with me, not necessarily like, you know, that I'm unable to. But I mean, I learned, but that expectation give you a plot of land to go and clear it was crazy at the time. And I remember the first time they gave me, and sometimes they didn't even give us the right one. They gave us the skinny,
the blonde one, the one that just shakes. You can't even do anything.
That's
about
right.
It,
you know?
So
it was very hard.
And I understand our viewers. Some of you can share your experiences when we were talking about all these things. I know some of you may have different opinions about corporal punishment. I'm just going to go to the screen and see what some of our Asobecsians and viewers are saying. Who is that? That's Opopo, Emmanuel Tabi. He said, "Thank God for those punishments because it instilled discipline in our lives. Some of us were troublemakers."
It's true.
But you know what? It has helped to change a lot of us mentally,
right,
physically. Because sometimes you sit and say, oh, this thing that happened to me in school, maybe I was a wayward child.
That's correct.
Maybe I was stubborn, like Opopo is saying. He was a case study. You know, if they didn't have the structure of discipline, what would be Opopo today?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Now he's a man who can stand and say, thank God for that discipline because it had helped to change me. Can somebody else say that, oh, I regret ever being punished because it has affected me this way? Because trauma is real. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
that's something we don't understand. You know what I'm saying? People have different ideas and different views.
It is true. I know of other Asobecsians because, I guess only one, that because of that, he hates his experience. He absolutely hates the fact that he went to BHS and all that, and he made it into this thing that distanced himself from the rest of us, as that he wasn't able to take that as a positive, which seemed like automatic for us, you and Emmanuel, but it's not for him. So some people had some kind of kickback to that.
And you're actually right, because my cousin came to Baptist after I left, and he didn't like it one bit. Because, see, this is and again, it depends on how you grew up as a child. He came from the American system. He came home, and then went to a boarding school. He went to a school where corporal punishment was a norm. My late uncle, God rest his soul, had to come to school to look for the guy who beat up his son, because he has never beaten his child. And for that reason, he took his child away from the school.
Of course.
You see what I'm saying? So all those things, it depends on your upbringing. It depends on your family, your orientation from the start. So if your parents went through stuff like that, because I know some kids who went to like Sacred, they've been there, their parents and their grandparents have been to that same system. So it's okay, your dad will be like, well, I got beaten. I got the same punishment. It didn't kill me. So I don't see why you should complain about it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
And also, they're really acquainted with the standards of which a punishment would happen. So again, I don't think there was a case in your experience that it was extreme, that the thing was so extreme and it didn't satisfy what you were actually being punished for. I can't remember a time.
No. So Humphrey, I'm going to tell you this. Some of these punishments from older students were extreme. Some of them were not. And I can only give you guys my experiences that I had with some of these other students. And I'm sorry, guys, I'm going to call names. You know, we're keeping it honest. This is Asobexs Connect, and it's all life, it's all fun. These are things in the past, but sometimes it's always good to share those experiences. And if we're calling names of ex-students that may be punished us, doesn't mean that we are mad. It doesn't mean that, oh, we still carry those grudges because it's all part of growing up. Suck it up. It is what it is. They live through it. We live through it. So even though we're calling names, no hard feelings. I'm going to give you another experience.
Tell me about it.
Grand Akaya Shemilov. Prominent Asobecsians.
Okay.
I had an issue in the refectory with another student. Akaya told me to kneel down and walk from the refectory to Seka dormitory.
To kneel
down. You know how support is in front of the refectory, how stones.
There were stones. I mean, there was a pavement, but it was
all rough. So tell me, at this point in time, I tell your son, your 11-year-old child, that go do that. How are you going to take it as a parent?
Yeah, that is kind of extreme. Somebody might get that.
You see, but the good thing is, I had a big who was his classmate, and she told Akaya that if you're going to punish my petit like that, I am going to come to the boys' dorm. I never did do it. I said some words behind his back because I knew his father. I said some things behind his back, but hey, it was all, those childish things, you know what I'm saying? You get angry and you say stuff, but some of those corporal punishments, I'm still telling you, Humphrey, I will not let a child go through that.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Some of them were well deserved,
right?
But the extreme in which we took it as students or as older students, I'm telling you, a kid of today will not be able to withstand it.
Right.
A child of this century will not stand it.
What do you think, Mocha? Maybe this time where they've taken away the corporal punishment altogether is perhaps due to these extremes.
Yeah, practically, because I will say in Baptist we were very, very fortunate. I mean, while I was there, we were very fortunate because when I left Baptist, I also I connect with other friends who are from different schools. The report we got, the news we got about other schools is that people even died in other schools because of corporal punishment. People died. I mean, people were seriously maimed in other schools to the point that we had to, all those schools had to think of looking at ways of minimizing. As Terence just said, we had to moderate those things. There were some people really went way above what they were really not supposed to do. Because even I recall, even when I was in, I think, lower seat, upper seat, a teacher actually vandalized one of our classmates. I mean, corporal punishment, okay, you can use a whip or a cane to ask the child, show your hand, and then you give him like 4 or 5 strokes. That was acceptable. But then this teacher, he went as far as actually kicking.
Oh my goodness.
One of our classmates in between his legs. And we saw the parents showed up in school.
Most definitely, I will show up.
Yeah, one of the parents actually showed up in school. So the abuse was not just by students, even some teachers.
It is abuse. We might play with it today and say, oh, it has helped us shape our life. We might coin it in any way we shape and form that we want, but it is abuse. In today's standard, it is abuse.
Yeah, that is abuse.
But Mocha, I'm going to ask you another question. During your life in Baptist, did you happen to punish a child that you regret ever doing it, or did you ever experience somebody elder student punishing you in the fact that you say, if you see that student today, you want to punch them in the stomach, or you just want to do something to them like, did you ever have that experience?
No. I never punished anybody to that point that I can recall. But then I remember that I was punished. When I came to Baptist, when I was in Form 1, the next day, we just arrived when that was small new dorm back in those days. There was this guy, this prefect, the works prefect from Fontaine Franklin. They call him WAF. I don't know if some of you guys remember him. WAF, he was a works prefect. So I remember when we just came, the next day was supposed to be working. As you guys normally, as what you guys just said. Discipline is important. When you tell a child that it's time for you to move out and go and work, you have to move out and go and work. We were there fooling around in the dormitory, and somebody said, hey, wow, look at these children. They're supposed to go and work, and they're just there sitting down there and talking to each other. Wolf took a belt, and then he gave me like 3 or 4 strokes. He didn't see me react. So he turned around and he looked, I couldn't find anything, and he took my own cutlass.
Oh my goodness.
And he gave me like 6 strokes with my cutlass. Now, I have never been beaten with a cutlass before. Now, in school, this is the second day I'm in school, somebody does that to me. And he turns around, he picks the next student, another classmate of my Tato Stephen. Luckily enough, Tato had the frame of mind to say that, hey, listen, because WAF had promised people that if you do other things with him, because he was a photographer, if you take a picture with him, he can waive punishments that you're supposed to have. And my good friend Tato said, I'm going to take a picture with you. And WAF just did not beat him. But anyway, that aside, even though I was beaten by WAF, I don't hold it against him. It's something that I look at it and I laugh about it. But the other people who went through maybe worse than what I went through or less than what I went through, they are unforgiving.
But Moka, I'm going to ask you another question. You have 2 beautiful boys, your sons.
Yes, yes.
Putting them in that position that you were back then in Form 1 as a parent today.
Yes, yes.
What will you do?
I will definitely not expect my child to be beaten with a cutlass. And I will expect if my child doesn't do what he's supposed to do, to be disciplined, but not to that extent.
Okay.
And then now it comes the irony of it all, is that we will credit who we are today because of the discipline, yet we won't stick
Humphrey,
hold on.
You know, I have to read what one Asobecks just said. Guys, this is so funny. This is coming from my classmate, batch of 89, Miss Arita, but she said this is She said, "Chai, they be the way they be wicked even till now, safe, and no one catch them." So you can imagine. That terror that even girls were facing, that even today some students don't want to see those other students because of what they did to them. So this is not just something that happened in the boys' dorm.
That's
so
right.
Even girls also went through this.
I know for a fact. And I heard the rumor back then was the girls
were worse.
They were worse.
They were worse. They were worse.
Yeah. I mean, for us, the boys, some of us were beaten, and we laugh about it. But some girls were not just beaten; they were more or less like verbally harassed.
Oh.
And that is even worse than being beaten.
Yeah, verbal abuse.
The WAF, as I said, the WAF who beat with the cutlass, we're laughing about it even after that. You see. And if today I see him, I have nothing against him. But that's not the same thing for women who went through like abuse.
Yeah, Moka, okay. Next, Afro also said something that is so funny. I'm just gonna read what he said. He said, "Just imagine that those guys were eating all the food in the refectory. They did not even think about the junior students," which is true. You know, today we sit and we talk about those things, we laugh about them, but these things are real. These things affected us in some way. Just imagine you wake up in the morning, you didn't have dinner because the upper seat guys, the lower seat guys, the Form 5 guys took everything, especially when they had vengeance.
That's correct.
And then you wake up in the morning to go get breakfast, and you see a Form 5 and taking 3 loaves of bread.
Right.
And then you barely even have tea. Because when I was in BHS, it wasn't just that this table is for my classmates. We were all mixed.
That's right.
From 1 to opposite.
That's correct.
And you who is sharing the food have to give preference to the older students. So by the time he's getting to a Form 1 child, he barely has nothing to eat.
That's right.
And then come again, you punishing that child with an empty stomach. So how do you learn? How do you go to class and study?
Right.
So you go to class and sleep.
And it's just the acceptance of it all. Like when that happens, so I mean, think of the child now that has to deal with it.
Yeah.
And it has to go to class and, you know, then start to think of lunch, you know. Hopefully it comes better at lunch, you know. And let's. I mean, if someone could testify, I'd like to know. Like, again, did that mold you? Did that make you appreciate certain things, or not? Or do you have angst against,
To some, like what Tabby said, and a few others that just wrote that it helped shape them because they were stubborn kids.
That's right.
Back then.
And also, let's think about the hierarchy of it all. So basically, you're coming as a junior student, and you're progressing through this sort of. It's almost like the ranks.
True.
Yes.
True.
And so the punishments are less severe, if anything. Especially when you pass Form 3.
Form 3.
Yeah.
But again, these things, we talk about them, we laugh about them because it's the past, but they were serious. Like Moka said, kids died in other schools. And I remember a child had died in Sase. I'm not too sure because of stuff like this. Because I had family members who went to Sase, and they said during cutting tail, kids will run and sleep in Tole. Right. Because they're scared of the beatings that they're going to get, especially the junior students.
Oh, wow.
How can you let a 10-year-old sleep in the forest or in Tole? What if he's been bitten by a snake? Or something bad happened? You see, we're doing those things back then, we didn't think of the consequences, but I'm sure today, this time, if you do that, you might not only get punished, you might also go to jail because a parent is not going to take that lightly.
Yeah, and again, when it got to the extremes, and again, it's these extremes that, that's preventing us from well, that's why the culture is what it is today, where there's absolutely none. So I think it's the extremes that made it, but the overall, the discipline that happened, when we were going at the corporal punishment anyways, I think it was very beneficial. It helped a lot of people that would have weighed the other way or would have made the more crucial mistakes later on in life if it wasn't for that, those boundaries.
Well, our fellow viewers, this is our very first ever Asobexs Connect show, and we understand that some people are putting questions and giving their own experiences of what happened, but we want to take a short commercial break, and then when we'll come back, we're going to come to the closing of our today's session. So we'll be right back, and then don't forget to send in your questions, and we'll be glad to answer some of those questions for you.
From the hills of great Sapon lies a cozy scenery.
On the 19th of July this year, the Asobecsians will be coming to Denver, Colorado for their national convention, and I will be there. Will you be there?
Join us. I will be there.
My name is John Indele Abam. I am a Boban residing in Denver, Colorado, and I'll be there.
I will be there, but it certainly would be the same without you, so please come join us.
Asobexs Convention this year in Denver, Colorado. Be there because I will be there.
Just here to indicate that I'll be there. Hope to see you there.
I will be there. I definitely will be there.
I will be there. Will you be there? See you there.
Asobexs, thy greatness not some can challenge. Shout and shine wherever you may be. God be praised, we are great in Him.
Well, fellow viewers and great Asobecsians and our friends from our sister schools, we have come to the end of our program for today, but before we conclude, like you guys saw on the commercial, our national convention is coming up in July 19 of this year. And one of our co-hosts is Grand Moka, who is live from Denver. He is the president of the Asobexs Association in Colorado. We would like him to tell us a little bit about his expectations for the 2019 Denver, Colorado. I see a lot of commercials about this convention. I want him to tell us. Let him give us a little light on how far they've gone in preparation and what his expectations are.
Thank you once again. Actually, when you look at everything which has been happening in Asobexs, every convention, it's a record breaker. So what we're looking forward in doing in Colorado is actually we're trying to meet up with what the other chapters have done so far, what Maryland did, what Houston did, what was done in Dallas, all of that, we're trying to put all of those things together. Learn from what worked so well in their own location and try to see how we can replicate that in Colorado. We want to try to make sure that when you come to Asobexs, when you come for one of the conventions, you just don't come and have fun with your friends, meet old colleagues, but then we want you, when you go out of the convention, you're taking something back with you. Something which will make you think that the next convention I'm looking forward to attending because it is worth it. It is worth every penny you're going to spend towards a convention. This is not just the first convention for Asobexs in Colorado, but this is actually the first convention of any ex-student association, which is going to be held in Colorado.
Wow.
So you don't only have the Asobecsians who are geared up. You could see even from the commercial that we have Bobans in the house who are actually looking forward to this convention, because they are going to showcase to their Bobans that, listen, it is also time to think about Colorado. And the community here is actually looking forward to enticing people to even think of moving to Colorado. Because I know most of you guys have heard, for those who don't know, Colorado is the first state in America where marijuana was legalized. So automatically, the population of Colorado has increased. We have more jobs that you can think of. So when you guys come, we hope that we'll have enough time to show you the beauty of Colorado. Unfortunately, we will not have enough time to go to the mountain, because also there's the issue of, we don't want anybody falling sick, because you guys will not have been there for a long time, so it will not be conducive. But then we will stick to Denver and Aurora, the level surface, whereby you guys are going to try to socialize and see what Denver has to offer. So we're actually looking forward to all of you coming. Presently, we have a hotel which has already been booked, and we're looking forward to people booking their reservation. I don't know if I'm still online, but then
yes, you are.
My volume. Okay, good.
We can hear you.
All right. Yeah, we're looking forward to Asobecsians doing the reservation, because the cutoff time is getting closer. Do you guys have any questions?
No, there's we got the time, we got the place, we got the dates.
Very informative.
I mean, that's actually pretty encouraging. Now that you speak of it, you know.
Will you be there?
Yeah, I'll be there. That this will be the first one of its kind in that place. I mean, that's a party. You know, that's definitely something to you know. That sounds like a lot of fun. I always look forward to these because, again, you know, this is a place where we get to, again, see our friends and those who, again, the brothers and sisters in this struggle, the one we grew up with, the one we appreciate now with time, you know, becomes, our relationships become stronger, and the fact that, you know, we have this one time to meet every year, it's always something to look forward to.
And
so.
the good part about all this, sometimes even though you're meeting your classmates, some of us will use that as a mini vacation, because you get to work so hard that you just want to take time off to go hang out with your old school friends, you know. And then going to Colorado, I've never been to Denver, so this will be the first time for me going to Denver. I've seen pictures, it's beautiful, but let me go experience that life. Let me go experience something different, something out of the norm that I always know, you know. So this is kind of like a mini vacation for me. Going out, I'm not just going to go for 2 days for the convention. I'm going to stay a little bit longer because I want to experience the place. You know what I'm saying?
That's
so I'm really looking forward to the convention in July. And I'm sure most Asobecsians are also looking forward to that. You know, And our fellow viewers, this is the first time we ever doing Asobexs Connect. You know, we want you guys to tell us your experience from the first show. Now, it wasn't scripted. We were just trying to flow. And we also want you guys to give topics that can be discussed in the subsequent shows, you know. And if there's any association that is in town that wants to be part of the panel sometimes, you know, you are more than welcome to, because this is for us Asobecsians. It's not just for the people in the Asobecsians in Houston. It's for Asobecsians around the world. It's for Asobecsians everywhere. If you want to be part of the show and you're in Germany, we can make accommodations for that, you know. So this platform is to create peace and love. This platform, we talk about those things that happen back in school, you know, but again, we're not saying it in a negative way. Sometimes you look at them like, oh, this guy did this to me, but it has helped shape us in one way or the other. It might be positive, it might be negative, but it has an effect in your life. So this is where we squash everything. And some of those students that still have grudges on their beatings, you know what I'm saying? This is where you come and
you should be a guest on our show
and talk about it and cancel all of that.
This discipline thing it's a very broad topic that we could, you know, go for days talking about. So, and with different perspectives. So this is a topic we'll definitely revisit. But I'm sure we're going to talk about other things next time.
But to just say this before we wrap up, the pros to this is the fact that it put us in line. Mm-hmm. No, you can't see in other way. It shaped us in line. You have that mentality of always trying to be focused on whatever you're doing. This is the effect of those things that we went through as a boarding student.
Right, and what you, Terrence and Mocha described is like even in the extremes, the fact that you guys were able to forgive, move on, and sometimes maybe forget. Maybe in the case that I probably don't remember the time I got, because I remember there might be an incident or two. Yep. But the fact that you're able to, you know, put it behind you and look at it in a more positive light, that perhaps is much more of a compliment than anything else.
That's very true.
So we want to go ahead and wrap this up. We want to thank the Asobexs family for making this possible. This was a great idea. It does take some time to put this together and some commitment. And I'm glad, you know, Terrence and I were able to start this off, and hopefully we'll get more participation. And in fact, we should get more participation after this.
Hey, Asobexs Connects, before we wrap it up, she said some people make their better halves in school, which is true, you know. But we're gonna do that. We're gonna talk about that in our subsequent shows, you know, because we have a variety of different things that we went through in school. But
that's right.
Because of time constraint, we really can't talk about every topic today.
That's a nice plug, Gerard, too. Yeah. That, you know, you can meet yours at the convention.
Okay. Thank you guys for being part of this. Thank you, our Asobecsians family. Until next time.
Take care. God bless.
From the hills of grace upon the scenery, host of BBS, S to B,